Community reinvestment, that's our subject. Welcome, nice to have you here. And Jodi Royal-Goodwin is our guest, who is in charge of that particular department for the city of Reno. Jodi, haven't seen you for a year. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
You look as young as you did a year ago, even younger, I think.
Thanks, it's good to go in reverse.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about reinvestment. I want to talk a little bit about the stimulus money. There's a lot of conversation these days about, does the stimulus money really reach Reno, Nevada? Is anything being done with that stimulus money from the federal government? Fill us in. Is it really a lot?
A lot is being done with that money locally. We have a number of programs. The first new program is called the Homeless Prevention and Rapid Rehousing Program, which provides rental assistance, utility assistance to households affected by the economic downturn and to help them maintain their housing. So they would have to be homeless or otherwise homeless, but then they can get assistance to either get into a place or to maintain their housing that they're currently in.
But you just help them get it. What happens in the second month? I mean, do they have to, you don't continue to finance?
There are two parts to it. One is one shot, so you just hit a bump in the road, so you got laid off and you were waiting for your unemployment to kick in, and you can get rental assistance for just that one time if that's what you need. Mm-hmm. Or there's what's called medium-term assistance in there, so you can get assistance for up to 18 months. You get unemployment, but it's not enough to help to make all of your rent payment and pay all your other bills. So then you could get up to 18 months worth of assistance.
How do you qualify, and who checks to make sure that these people really need that assistance?
We actually started what's called a central intake. So down at the Community Assistance Center, we have staff that works there that screens everybody that comes in looking for assistance, and they have to earn less than 50% of the area median income. They have to show that they're sustainable. So they have to show that if we give you 1 month's assistance, that's just not going to keep you there for 1 month, but that you're likely to be able to sustain it for months 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. And that it's really the impact of the economy, not just because you don't manage your money well. Mm-hmm. So trying to make sure we're really targeting people who will be stable once they get the assistance.
Do you try to keep people in their own homes, or are there houses available that the city owns that can be utilized?
It's not property the city owns. That's actually a conflict on the government level. But there is, if they are already in a place, as long as it is a suitable living environment, there are no hazards, and everything functions, then they can stay in that place. If they need to move, we can help them find a place to move to, but it's not something we own. So we have a list of affordable housing.
You negotiate with the owners or the landlords, that kind of thing.
And the city doesn't actually do that piece. We contract with 2 different agencies. Once we determine they're eligible, we refer them to one of 2 agencies to get the additional assistance.
I know we really did talk about this a year ago. Are you working on the same funds that you received, or have you gotten additional funds?
It's the same funds out of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. So out of the second stimulus package, this is one of those programs. We are still finishing up the neighborhood stabilization program, which is out of the first stimulus package, doing some down payment assistance for households that are between 50 and 120% of their area median income. So helping first-time home buyers to get foreclosed properties off of the market, that type of thing.
We know that that Nevada unfortunately leads the nation now in unemployment, 14.5% or something. What's been the impact? Do you find a lot of people that say, hey, I need help today? I'm more than you've ever seen before?
We do, actually. And with the homeless shelter, we see a lot of people coming in there who've kind of, as the economy continues to drag on and unemployment goes up, they're more in need of assistance. They might have owned a business 2 years ago. They've now lost their house. They're no longer able to maintain an apartment. And with Congress not acting to extend the unemployment benefits, we've seen a huge impact of that as well. People who were kind of maintaining with that assistance are no longer able to do so as well.
Does your department assist financially the homeless shelters in our area? Any part of that?
We do. We fund some portion of the operations of the homeless shelters, as well as the resource center. So a place where people who are just don't have those resources can go down and look for jobs, use the computers to do internet searches, access the phones if they don't have a phone at home. They can receive mail if they move around a lot. So a lot of families are staying with friends or family to get through the hard times. So doubling up, so to speak. So 2 families both had somebody lost employment on their own they can't make it, but with their unemployment together they can maintain one household. Or they might go around to different family members so they can come down and they could receive their mail there. So they have a consistent place to say they're receiving their mail without having to use general delivery, or and they can get messages so that if they sign up for services, they can get a message if they're looking for a job, rather than having something say, oh, she's not here this week, or, having to figure out which place you'll be to put on a job application, those types of things.
Well, what's the physical layout of a homeless center? I mean, is it I see occasionally, I don't pay enough attention, I should, on television you see tent cities and things. Is that what you're involved with?
Yes, nowadays it is. The homeless shelter, the Community Assistance Center campus, as I call it, is a number of things. So we have a men's shelter, a women's shelter, and a family shelter, which are all inside of buildings and receive services. They receive case management to help them figure out where to go next and what services to go access. Mm-hmm. And part of the family shelter building, the first 2 floors, is actually what we call the resource center. So we have tenants that lease space in it to provide services, mental health services, free clothing services, the Good Shepherd's Clothes Closet relocated down there. We have a hawk clinic down there, so they can get medical services. They can get a lot of their basic needs met. More recently, yes, we have a tent city. We call it Safe Ground, which we hope to be a safe place for people to stay with some rules so that everybody can maintain that safety, but still, because we don't have enough beds for everybody in the adult shelters, it gives them an alternative.
When you say down there, what's the physical location?
It's at 335 Record Street.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
And as far as the tent cities, is that policed at all by the city of Reno?
It is. We have on-site security that we contract, as well as then the police officers, Reno Police, do come down and help us out, check, see what's going on, just drive through, make sure everything's going okay. In the wintertime, they'd come down and they'd help us do well checks, make sure nobody was freezing overnight if they wouldn't come in.
Yeah, really.
We do provide a place. If during the winter they're staying out there, they have no other resources. We have what we call cold weather overflow for men, that they can go, and it's overnight shelter, so they don't have to sleep outside. But if they elect to sleep outside, they can still go into what we call warming centers. So men can go into the men's shelter, women can go into the women's shelter, and obviously we don't allow children to stay there.
How long are they allowed? Is just overnight, or can they come back the next night?
They're allowed to, right now there is no limit on how long they're allowed to stay in the tent area.
And there are other facilities, I would imagine, Salvation Army, other things in town that are kind of doing the same thing. Now you talk about helping people with rent, which is great, and what about getting back into the job market? Do you actually make calls to employers?
We don't. What we do through the Resource Center is post job openings that we know. We even make referrals. We help, if somebody's been volunteering in the Resource Center, we'll help with letters of reference, those types of things. So we do what we can to help, but we don't have enough staff to be able to make calls on behalf of clients, but we will hopefully help them get connected to the right people.
I'm sure you can answer this question, even though you don't really, do this. I mean, try to help people get a job. But is there kind of in the business community, they say, oh, a homeless person? I wouldn't hire a homeless person. I mean, is that kind of a negative thing?
It's more difficult for a homeless person to get a job, but I don't know that it's as much because they're trying to not hire a homeless person, as much as because the homeless person may not present as well. It's hard to really stay if you're not housed in a stable situation, if you don't have a place to keep your clothes clean, that type of thing. To become a presentable applicant, it's hard to be competitive in that market. And right now, everything is very competitive. The good news is we do have some success. I mean, we get, a number of people have been employed by the baseball stadium, some in cooking jobs throughout. That were homeless. Okay. So we do get people reemployed or help them get reemployed that way. So.
What about seniors? Do you help seniors at all?
We do. Unfortunately, there are way too many seniors experiencing homelessness, and we help them as much as we can connect with senior services and the other resources that are available to them specifically.
When does how long will your money last? When does it run out?
We're funded through the end of this the new current fiscal year, so we're good through June 30th of 2011 right now, and with any luck we'll keep going because the need is definitely there.
That you will get refunded again then, huh? And you said the city of Reno, I think you told me in our original conversation a long time ago, they really bought off on this. I mean, they wanted to do this, and they've been very helpful in getting the thing started, the council and, yeah.
Council, the private community, we've had a lot of private foundation support. This year, we actually are supporting it. It's a partnership with the 3 jurisdictions, the city of Sparks, Washoe County, and the city of Reno. So all 3 jurisdictions have money into it because homelessness doesn't look at a city boundary and say, oh, I don't go there because that's where we are. But on the other hand, they do come here because this is where the services are often provided.
Do we have more homeless people in this community now than we've ever had before, do you think?
I do.
Yeah. What, any idea of an estimate? I mean, is it over 1,000, less than 1,000?
It's less than 1,000 on any given night. We have, we do what's called a point in time count every January. The last week in January, the date is actually dictated by HUD, but at that point in time, we had about 370 individuals either living in shelters or on the street.
Is your particular department doing anything else that we should know about?
We do help people maintain their housing by providing repair assistance, as well as we fund Northern Nevada Center for Independent Living with to help make accessibility repairs for people who are either aging or experiencing a disability of some sort, so they can maintain their housing, whether it's rental or owner.
Somebody needs a ramp, as an example, to get a wheelchair, you build a ramp.
Perfect
now,
example.
do you do that through like a private contractor? Do you have people on city payroll to do it? Or?
No, we do that. We do that through a contract with Northern Nevada Center for Independent Living, and I think they have people on staff that at least manage that project in terms of they need a ramp, and then they can go hire a construction company to put the ramp in the right way, that type of thing.
Everybody's been talking about, and when I come to City Hall, they really talk about it, about the cuts, and we know that that's happening not only at government levels, but in private business too. Has your staff been cut, and how are you coping with that?
Fortunately for me, my staff has not been cut. We're all 100% grant funded from the federal level, so we have a little bit of insulation that way. And most of our funding, even if it's not federal, is not city funding.
You mean you're kind of a city employee that we don't have to fund with our tax dollars, right? But you're the best kind. How do we get more people like that?
Well, we work on that really hard.
You work on it hard.
Yeah, so there's just more to do, I think, for everybody, whether their department's been affected or if it's like our department, we haven't lost staff, but there is much more to do given the need that's out there at this point.
How does somebody who may be watching this interview say, hey, I know somebody, Joe Smith, who really needs these services? How do they get that process started? Who should they contact?
Well, they could call Reno Direct. They have all the information on the different projects. And it really depends on what type of help they're looking for, on where they would need to go. If they're looking for homeless services or the Homeless Prevention Rental Assistance Project, they would call 657-4675. If they're looking for down payment assistance, they would call myself at 334-2305.
What happens to the person who says, I have a car and I need to get to work, but I just can't afford gas anymore? Do you take care of things like that?
We unfortunately do not have funding for things like that. We're always looking for ways to at least get bus passes. That's an expensive proposition in and of itself. So, but gas, the best thing I can do, and I'm not sure they're still doing it actually, is Catholic Community Services had previously given out gas vouchers.
So you do get some help from other organizations in the community, and you seek that help?
Oh yes, we partner a lot with the other agencies. It's not our ideal situation to be providing the direct assistance, but rather to help other organizations provide it in a more efficient manner.
Well, Jodi Royal-Goodwin, a reminder that 1 year from today we'll do another interview and find out how things are going with your department.
Hopefully much better all around.
Yeah, hopefully much better all the way around. Thank you for being our guest, and our thanks to you.
Thank you.